Psalm 66, 10 through 12 says, "For you have tried us, O God. You have refined us as silver is refined. You've brought us into the net. You've laid an oppressive burden upon our loins. You made men ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, and yet you brought us into a place of abundance." Well, if you're joining us in reading through this 6-month reading plan through the book of Psalms, today's reading is Psalm 66, and I encourage you to read that psalm. Well, I'd like to think back for a moment on your lifetime in school. For many of us, that's a significant amount of time, and yet things certainly have changed over those years. Educational theory, technology, and even some of the details about what we learned have changed. For example, Pluto is no longer considered a planet. But one thing that hasn't changed about schooling and about life is that it is full of struggles. Now, there are certainly some very, very good times in life. Times of excitement and joy. Times of feeling incredibly blessed because of some success that we may have had. But the times to grow, the times that really impact our lives, could possibly be those times that are the most struggles. We all experience difficult times in our lives, and each of those experiences are different for each one of us. Sometimes there's extreme disappointment, and other times there's just a change in financial status. Sometimes it's just a change in where we live, and that certainly can be stressful. But God places each one of those experiences in our lives so that we will learn something about Him and change our lives to more closely reflect our walk with Him. But that only happens if we then allow it to happen. And this is the real rub of life. We can either complain about our situation, or we can look to God and ask Him to show us exactly why we are going through the situation that we are going through. And God is faithful in what He does. He causes us to grow. God is faithful, and we must be faithful as well. Now, currently I'm going through a struggle with my eye. It's pretty obvious. Tony is going through a struggle with her hip surgery. Some of my best friends have lost loved ones, and others are struggling with physical ailments. But God will use each one of these experiences to help us grow closer to Him. When you have a moment, read 2 Corinthians chapters 11:23 through 12:10, and in it, Paul was discussing with the Corinthian church a time period in his life which many things were impacting him negatively. And yet in verse 10 of chapter 12, he says this, "Therefore I am well content with weakness, with insults, with distress, with persecutions, and with difficulties, for Christ's sake, for when I am weak, then I am strong." It's in times of struggles, it's in times of pain, it's during those times of uncertainty that we most grow in Christ. And if you would like a PDF copy of this entire reading plan, please send an email to phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.